Good morning. It is August 27th, 2013. I'm in the city of Alphen aan den Rijn in the Netherlands. Let's talk about the conditioned mind, my favorite topic. I want to share about my relationship with my mom. Several years ago, my mom went through a divorce. She moved house and they discovered that the cancer had returned. She got the top 3 of most stressful things in life. At that time, I was in India, and when my mom went through all of this, she became very depressed. So weekly I would be on the phone with my mom, and she would be very down, and she started talking a lot about ending it, killing herself, suicide. It's something we don't talk about freely in society. And I think it's very important to talk about these things because there's a lot to say and there's even more to learn. So let's make a start. So, my experience in India was a difficult one. Why? Because of my conditioned mind. So let's go over the mechanisms of the conditioned mind, and one by one, let's look at them. So let's start with judgment. The mechanism of judgment in this example. I judged as well her for not taking care of herself and not managing relationships and ending up very sick. I judged myself for not being a good son, for being far away, for not making the difference in her life. So as you can imagine, this judging brings suffering. Mechanism of judgment. And you can see in these judgments, there is partly a projection when I'm judging my mom. That is when I project outside of me what I don't accept in myself on my mom. It's still the same thing. It all means I'm not accepting the self. Obviously, in those family relationships, we're dealing with attachment. It is fear of losing my mom, which brings more suffering. Next mechanism, resistance. Obviously, I was resisting this whole scenario. I was resisting life that this was happening. This should not be. One moment. This should not be. Again, adding more suffering. Let's look at fear. Next mechanism of the conditioned mind. Afraid of losing my mother. More suffering. Guilt. I felt guilty that I am so far away. Again, comes with judgment. I'm not a good son. So all of these mechanisms of the conditioned mind bring a lot of suffering. So how much support will I be to my mom when I'm suffering so much? There is no power. I'm just suffering. Then I think out of all these mechanisms, the guilt, the resistance, the attachment, I decided to go to Holland. And I moved into my mom's house and started taking care of her. And that was quite difficult. And after some weeks, I also became sick. Because we all influence each other. And finally, I went back to India. And then, again, my mom continued talking about killing herself. And then one day, she made an attempt. It failed. It's actually a very strange, funny story. I think it was her 2 cats who saved her. She had saved up a lot of pills and took them in one shot. And then the body rejected it, so she had to vomit. And then she was thinking about her cats, that they might eat that and then the cats would die. So, so that actually made her get out of bed and cleaning up, and actually in that whole process of physical activity and having thrown up, you know, it was not strong enough anymore. And also, accidentally, you know, my brother dropped by, and then suicide is an interesting topic because it's not really allowed by the collective conditioning. So what happens is they'll take you into a separate house. They'll take you into a separate house, like a, I don't know how you call it in English, like a, you can't just leave, you know, you have to mandatory be there. So again, a lot of things are to say about this, how we're not granting, you know, each other, ourselves, the choice, you know, that's a choice we can make, you know, whether we end our lives or not. Now, when I reflected on this whole thing and what really works, I saw a couple of things. One thing was that if you take care of someone else, you have to really look whether you're doing that from a context of love or whether you're doing that from a context of the conditioned mind. Guilt, fear, attachment. And I think that's not the right context to do things, and it kind of like turns against you. And that's, I think, why I fell sick myself. And that, of course, doesn't serve the other. So I'm learning it's very important. We have to take care of ourselves first before we can take care of the other. Because, you know, if I fall sick, I can't take care of my mom, obviously. So that was one learning. Second learning was, very soon we feel sorry, we feel bad, we're concerned, we get very influenced by other people. And we don't realize it has to do with us. We're not physical beings, we're energy beings. Energy has a frequency, a vibration, and very soon we resonate with other people's emotions, vibrations. So feeling sorry for someone else says something about you that you have not yet fully accepted yourself. And immediately you're resonating with other people's emotions. That's not love, by the way. That's absolutely not love. So, me thinking I'm a bad son, I'm in India, I'm not serving my mom. It was actually not true, because then when I was in India and my mom made that attempt to commit suicide, she got taken in, and that was a horrible place. That was a place where, I don't know, full of crazy people, you can just say, for lack of better words. You know, people, crazy people, people are hurting, people whose minds are damaged. And only then, after being at that place, she started appreciating being in her new house. So she could accept having moved. She could accept the divorce with my dad. My dad came, they had a conversation. So, we're very conditioned, we have very strong opinions and views, you know, how things should be done, but we might be mistaken. So was it good I went to Holland? Was it good I was in India? What I'm learning out of it is to only act from a space of love and not act from attachment, fear, guilt. And that my mom went through a very powerful process with this suicide. So instead of feeling all bad and hustled, which doesn't serve anyone, I can reflect on my conditioned mind and see what all mechanisms are running, which render me powerless. When we're powerless, we're not making any difference. If I'm all pathetic, upset, depressed too, I'm not impacting any people. It's all the drama. The conditioned mind always creates drama. So, what are my conclusions for now? What have I learned? Right now, with the current awareness I'm having, I'm seeing that sometimes when someone is going through a tough time, we could step into the pitfall of becoming a hero and fully taking care of that person from the wrong context. If you're inspired and you love it, you do it. But you better be honest with yourself, because we can fool ourselves, but we can't fool God or consciousness or the universe. So me falling sick was really a sign that I crossed my boundaries. I was not taking care of myself. So what did I learn? Sometimes it can be an act of love when you detach from people. You trust them, knowing who they truly are, all powerful, all wonderful, all capable, and let them go through the process. Stay out of that hero role. It's not serving. The more I take care of someone, the more I make someone dependent on me. I think we all know the story about how important it is to teach someone fishing instead of giving them fish. But it's difficult to see. It's difficult to see. So we need to share, we need to engage in dialogue, we need to talk to our friends, and we need to reflect on our lives, the difficulties. Because one thing I can tell you, all the suffering is self-inflicted. It's all conditioned mind, and there is a lot of it. Okay, I'm going to need a part 2. I'll be right back.